We are live. Tom Ginn,
Mark Gassert.
Elevate Your Profits. We'll be right back. That is our corporate sponsor, ASEA.
Oh, yes. Yes, yes, yes.
Well, Mark, I'm really excited today for our guest. I saw our guest on a previous program, our mentor, um, Ken Walls, interviewed her, and I said, people need to hear this. So I
Yes.
reached out to her, and I interviewed her here a couple, 3 weeks ago. I don't recall exactly the date, and we did it on GeForce. She's got a great story. Tonight she's going to highlight a little bit about that. But uh, I'm a victim, a recent victim of what she's going to be talking about.
Oh,
So
my.
this is, I have to approach this with a smile on my face, and I knew better, but you get distracted, and I tell you what, those that are out there doing the evils of uh, what do you call it? Scammers, they're
Yeah.
good. No matter how good you think you are, they're better. So tonight I'm really excited. Mark, I know I'll let you tell a little bit of why we do this program.
Absolutely. Elevate your profits. Like tonight, we've got Sandra on here, and this is another way that she's elevating her profits through her business, through her cause. And it's not all money. We've had other people on here talk about anywhere from mindset, personal development, uh, causes that they're contributing to, what they endorse. And to all of us, for Tom and myself, that's a way you can elevate your profits out there in the planet Earth, so to speak. And really looking forward to hearing about tonight because there is a lot of crazy stuff coming up. When I say that, because of the holidays, people get weird ideas and bank accounts, and I don't want to get into all that, but I know Tom, you had a lot of fun with this, and it's not fun. I've been hacked on the Facebook side of things, and it's not a pleasure cruise when people steal your identity and use it for whatever. It's just I wish they'd use it for something productive, but that's not for me to decide, I guess.
Well, usually they have some reason is productive for them. We want to
Right.
make sure that this information gets shared out there. So tag and share. We never know who we can help in this platform. So just tag and share out there. But tonight, let's not waste any time because tonight we got.
The doorbell's ringing right now. I hear my wife in the background. The trick or treaters, just so you know, Peachtree Corners, Georgia, right now, it's happening. The little ghosties, goblins, ghoulies are knocking at the door, ringing the bell, and they want the candy. So it's starting right now. And the little
Okay.
guys are out there, little gals are out there. So yeah, let's meet Sandra and get on with it, please.
She is a diamond. So Sandra, welcome.
Thank you so, so much. I am so grateful, so happy, and so excited to be with both of you this Halloween day. And you were saying, Mark, and you too, Tom, the real monsters are not, spirits. They are not really um, under the bed. The real monsters are behind a keyboard,
Oh, amen to that.
and
Yeah,
they are
that's
online. So
yeah,
yes. So
super
we're going to talk
con.
about that.
Yeah.
What I would like to do is before we dive deep into your book and what you do and why it's so important to be more aware of what's going out there, is I always like to start this out is before we get into that, what are we grateful for? What are you grateful for today, Sandra, and then Mark, and then
Mhm.
myself?
I am so grateful to be here, honestly, with both of you, because this is what gives me purpose, gives me a reason to get up every single day and share what my life and my story are all about. So I'm so grateful for both of you having this podcast and creating these platforms so people like me can live their dream.
Thank you. Thank you. What are you grateful for today, Mark?
Today, I'm grateful that, I'll say it again. I've got my health. I'm here. I'm doing my thing. I've had a great day. I had a productive day, and the ability to talk to people that I don't even know who I'm talking to on the other end of the phone or virtually. I
Mhm.
enjoy that. I never thought I'd say that, and I actually enjoy doing what I'm doing here.
Mhm.
Before I thought about even live streaming back in the day. What's it been, about 2 years ago? I never thought I'd be doing something like this. And I kiddingly say this tongue in cheek. Tom and I have no business, but we do. Uh, they kiddingly tell me, my sons, this is a young person's game out there with Facebook, and you
Mhm.
know they are always teasing my wife and I about being challenged, from a technological point of view. But that's okay. I'm having fun, and there's a lot of my former classmates from high school, college. I know they think I'm kind of freaky for doing this, but I enjoy it. So I wish they'd come on here sometime. I could interview some of them, find out what's new in their life.
Mhm.
I'm grateful. One of my programs that I do is G-Force. G is for gratitude. I believe it's a very strong principle to apply in our lives. That's one of the things, Sandra, when I heard you on your first interview, how much you were expressing gratitude around your story. And, this is the most important moment of our lives right now,
Mhm.
because how we deal with it determines what happens the rest of our lives as well, either positively or negative. So in gratitude, you can't hold a negative space
Mhm.
when you're in a place of gratitude, no matter what the circumstances are.
Mhm.
And, I'm grateful that I was hacked. It gave me a learning lesson, right?
Yeah.
Many times I could have, just rolled up and crawled under a rock and say, why did this happen to me? But, you had to put a smile on your face, and it could have been worse.
Mhm.
Could have been worse. So I'm grateful for you being here, Sandra. And I know we got some guests coming in here. Ted just put up a little thing that he got stolen. So
Oh, wow.
yeah, thanks, Ted, for
Yeah,
sharing. I know
Mm.
that's a big.
that's some crazy stuff. So,
Yeah.
Mm.
Sandra, you're going to really educate us tonight. So I'm looking forward to this.
Yeah.
Sandra, you got quite a story, and we're going to just turn it over to you. But then tell a little bit about where you're from and a little
Mhm.
bit about what got you to where you are today, because we can talk a long time about that.
Yeah.
But just so people have a little bit of background, uh, where are you originally from?
Of course. Yeah. So I'm originally from Venezuela, and I always like to share this vulnerable time about my life, because it gives you a context of why gratitude is so important in my life. And I know this is a different show and we're going to talk about profits, but even for profits, gratitude matters. And I was 11 years old when my mom and I were evicted,
Hmm.
and the only place that we were able to pay rent was a shack. There was no running water or even a bathroom. And I live in that shack. And there were so many things that happened in my life. I was there until I was 16 years old, and we were evicted again. And I just graduated from high school. I went to live back with my stepfather relatives, and I just remember at the time I joined a program to become a secretary, and that changed my life in many ways. So being, getting that job, I got my first paid job as an intern, and I worked for Heinz, the ketchup company.
Oh, wow.
So that was my first job. And I remember one day, I was in the office when one of the admins asked me, "Hey, Sandra, just go to this hotel and deliver this envelope." I grabbed the envelope, I hop into a taxi, and I think I, didn't think of anything. I get to the hotel, and it's a 5-star hotel. I never seen one, Mark and Tom. I've never seen a place like that. I thought
Right.
places like that just existed in movies. And I went in, and I'm mesmerized. I'm walking, the bellman takes me to the restaurant area. There is a man waiting for the envelope. I deliver that, but I'm like, I think my face said everything. And the man looked at me and said, "Hey, Sandra, sit down and just have breakfast." And I just remember in that moment, I never seen a buffet before. I never seen so much food in my life. And I stood there. And finally, I decided to eat. I put my plate and I'm leading. And this is the thing that I think what I want to make the connection for you, that you have a company, you have, your business, and why it's so important to visualize. Because when I was in this breakfast, I started to see business people coming in. And I just remember that there was a woman in a table with a small computer. And I thought, wow, this is so different than my life. And somehow my mind went, and I started to see myself, dressing nicely. I saw myself, traveling with a small computer. And, one thing led to another. And here I am, many, many years later. I, of course, went to school, and I made a promise in that table that I will become a businesswoman. And I did. And I graduated as a system engineer. I, worked for big corporations. And the last company I worked for transferred me from Venezuela to the United States, to the Midwest, to their headquarters. And a year after I moved, I went to visit my mom. And in my way back home to Wisconsin, near to you, Mark. Not near to you, Tom. Not to
Yes.
you, Mark. Yeah, I'm in the plane, and suddenly Homeland Security officers walk me out of the plane.
Wow.
And what happened is that someone, a criminal in China, stole my identity to smuggle women into the United States, and that changed my life. And I know, Tom, what you were, I'm sad that you experienced that, but you can feel how vulnerable it can be. It's a moment, and I just want to talk to you about your experience because it's so important. Mine happened 16 years ago, but still, it hurts. For me, I had to prove over and over who I was. And you go through life, and we don't talk about the emotional side. I mean, we talk about all the losses, the money loss and the data loss, but we don't talk about the emotional loss and the trust and the fear and all of that, which of course relates in how we do in business. So I'm just going to stop and just going to let you also, Tom, talk about your experience and how that affected you as a business, and how that, how was that experience for you?
And I'll just roll my sleeves up here and just share something. Years ago, I was held up at gunpoint with a gun at my head, and that's PTSD.
Yep.
And you don't realize, I had a lot of counseling on that through the company I was with, and I thought I was okay. And in certain things, I can sense over time that incident, certain things would trigger this emotional response. Even though there wasn't a gun at my head, it was the same violation, the same threat. So when my computer got locked up, basically I was trying to handle some business stuff, and it wasn't a legit site. The guy said, "Click here." He had control of my screen, and then he became the bad guy. He had the
Mhm.
gun at my head, basically. That's how I visioned
Yeah.
it. And I went back to that same state.
Yeah.
So I think just the violation creates a trauma that's
Yeah.
more important dealing with that than dealing with the lost data and the inconvenience and out of business for a week and all that could all be made up. But what it did to me, it just triggered back old experience. And
Yeah.
that's not a comfortable thing to be. So that's what I came away with it. Hey, the data is the data. And, yeah, I had to get my
Mhm.
IT guy to clean my computer and set things up. And yeah, I forgot how many different things I had to reload into my computer
Yeah.
and then do the banking for an extra step of security, change all my banking. And oh, wow,
Yeah.
that's insignificant to what the violation is about. I think
Exactly.
that's what you really talk about in your book, the violations that
Yeah.
it occurs. So that's my
Absolutely.
story there.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think that anyone, we have degrees, and when we can talk about identity theft, cybercrime, and there's different degrees of things that happen every day, and whether they happen to you personally or they happen to your business, still is there is an effect. And I think, Mark, you talk about, you also had an incident before, and you want to talk about how that, you know that experience changed you, or what did that do for you? Oh, I'm not hearing you.
You muted, Mark. We don't hear you.
So I could listen. Yeah, what I was going to say is I apologize, but I muted myself so I wouldn't miss anything. Um, what it did for me is put me on the alert, even
Hmm.
personally and more or less professionally, emails that I would receive even from other companies.
Hmm.
And there were like three instances that happened, and I called them. They said, whatever you do, don't open that. And I
Hmm.
was so thankful I called first because it just didn't look right. And
Yeah.
because I knew the person, and I'm like, I've never gotten an email like this from them. This is weird, telling me to
Hmm.
register for something. And I was like, whoa. So I just called up.
Hmm.
And just what happened to me in Facebook, just to get that back, your identity, man, it messes you up. Because I think for about a month, I was MIA, out of my real account.
Yeah.
And it's not pleasant. Um,
It's not.
and Lord knows what's gone behind the scenes, what they're saying or doing since
Yeah.
someone stole your identity. Uh,
Hmm.
and I think that's the biggest thing. You hit the nail on the head. The real monsters today in the 21st century. This is the crime. This is
Hmm.
where people are at. I know Tom mentioned about gunpoint. Yeah, all that stuff's going on, but the real slick people out there are doing this, and they're making a livelihood off of people's misfortunes. And that's what I said earlier when we were off camera, that it's a shame they don't do something more constructive. But for them, it's
Hmm.
easier to steal your identity, get into your bank account. Um, Lord
Yeah.
knows with all the social media out there, you got to be afraid to say or do something, or you'll get banned. Although I think it's getting better. Um, we had a guest on that talked about the jab and how
Hmm.
he had some heart problems. And anyway,
Hmm.
it's I digress a little bit here, but I'm really curious about your story. I mean, man, that's
Yeah.
got to be traumatic.
It is, and I think where I want to absolutely thank you for sharing your experience in Facebook, and Tom also with email, because it can happen in any different area. We think sometimes it can only be in one side, but the reality is there is it's a massive illegal industry, and we don't see it sometimes that way. Cybercrime is a business like any other business, and they have business meetings, and they have people to do marketing, and they have PR, they have all these um traditional business like processes, and some of them are very sophisticated. If you think about how traditional drug market or drug cartels were at the time, the biggest illegal business. I mean, cybercrime has to surpass all of that. And many of these traditional cybercrime organizations translated their operation to be online because now it's so much easier to hide behind a computer. I mean, you still might have a robbery or someone pointing a gun and go to a bank, but why risk that if you can just go behind a computer and commit the crime and hide?
Hmm.
So
Um,
you were compromised, and they tagged you as
yeah.
a bad person, and you
Wow.
then so that was sort of the place that sort of started you on how can I help people? Is that
Sort of, yes. So, my experience or my story, of identity theft lasted 6 years. So for 6 years, I had to
Wow.
prove I was the real me
Hmm.
over and over and over. And I just remember Mark and Tom, like nobody wanted to travel with me. Like I was in a job. I know. My husband, everyone, my coworkers were like, okay, we're gonna travel, but you go the day before and we'll meet you there.
Oh, wow.
Because I never knew how long it will take me to prove that I'm me. Like I have to travel with a folder like this thick with
Sure.
everything that I have that will show I am me. But when you get to TSA, whether you are escorted by the police or someone picks you up. I mean, it's just every experience was different. And then you go to the room and then you have to wait in the room until they get the information, validate you're you. Okay, you can go, and that could take an hour to 8 hours.
Hmm.
So that was my life for 6 years. I had no idea about cybersecurity. I was in technology though, and I thought at that point there is nothing I can do. Like I felt hopeless. I felt nobody had answers for me. I couldn't ask. How can you know I didn't even understand what was going on in my life. Like there was just this huge black cloud in my head. And all I did was
Right.
like, okay, just go and do the next trip and hope I don't get, many hours in the room.
It sounds like your husband and anybody related to you are almost like, yeah, you either go the day before or day after, but just don't come with us. Wait.
Exactly.
Wow.
Yeah, exactly. That was exactly the case. And when 6 years later, I became a US citizen and I changed my name and my life changed. And shortly after, I had an opportunity to change my career from technology into cybersecurity. And it was like, that feeling like someone turned the light on. It's been dark for a long time. And now I'm like, oh my God, this is what happened to people. This is what happened. This is what identity theft is. This is how, who the cyber monsters are. And there are many motives. Like it's not just for crime or for profit. I mean, there are different reasons why
Sure.
hacks happen every day. And you get into that. And I have to confess, when that happened, I went home and I was like, telling to my husband, change all your passwords. Oh my God, we're gonna get hacked. And this, don't click, don't do. And I was freaking out. And my husband was like, what's happening to you? And
Wow.
I was talking too much technical jargon, and he didn't relate to it. And for as much as I tried to convince him or my friends that it was real, it was not resonating. And I kept thinking, why is that? They know my story, they know it's real. They like, why would you still click? Why would you still um not use 1 2 3 4 5 password? Why would you still repeat the password? And I kept asking that question over and over. And that's when I really clicked that it has to relate, it has to be personal. And when you do that connection, everything changes. And like, we had this conversation, Tom, a couple of weeks ago. I wish I could have done anything to help you with your case, but with our conversation, probably you have a different perspective about cybercrime than if you have if there's no experience, or if there's no story with somebody else. And I think that's the beauty of sharing what's happening to you. And I would love to know what happened to the person that lost the $12,000 that was in the chat, because when we share our stories, it's when we can really help, that not only heal that event that was triggering, that was sad, that had many emotions, but it also helped others to realize this is real and it can happen. It happened to me, it can happen to anyone.
It's true.
You said something there. You were talking about cybersecurity, and you're talking the do's and the don'ts and what to look for, the technical stuff and the process. That doesn't resonate with most people.
Yeah.
The story is the most. Simon Sinek, says it better than anybody else. People really don't relate to what you do and how you do it.
Yeah.
They will relate to the story. Your story wakes me up. A story around when somebody does this, that resonates instead of all the technical stuff. And you go, that's happening. That story is coming back.
Yeah.
Ding, ding, be aware. So I think that what you said is so important, is that we recognize the story more so than the technical stuff.
Absolutely.
So we see the picture of what's happening around us.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And if you think about the profit in your business, when I see cybersecurity in a business, whether it's a small business or a corporation, it can be the differentiator. If I know that you as a business protect information, protects me as a customer, I want to buy from you. I don't want to buy from someone that is going to lose my information. Even if you think about not just the personal side and just taking, how can you use cyber safety or cybersecurity to attract more customers, to attract more, more business. I mean, if that is the motivation, I mean, that's what motivates you. That's another angle to see cybersecurity.
Yeah, so it sort of leads to some of the things you've done. So you got a pat. It happened to you, and you've written some books.
I have. Yes.
Can I start with the ones that with the children's books first?
Of course.
Because I think the earlier we start to hear the stories, the more prepared will we be in life.
Yeah,
versus
absolutely.
somebody 72 and
makes sense,
we know
right?
it all, and we think we got a handle on everything, and in reality we don't. Start with why you did these. These are coloring books. You've got 3 of them, so I'm going to put these up real quick. I'm going to put a banner up on your books here, if you don't mind, so people.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it. Thank you.
Tell a little bit about this book, Little Red Riding Hood.
Yeah. So if you think about the story of, the fairy tale, so what does the wolf do? The wolf tries to be grandma. Yeah. And that's what people do online. They try to be somebody else. So if you can teach your kids very early that not everything they see online, is a real person. It's not. They start developing that skill. They start developing that sense, inner cyber sense, I call it. And children are the perfect time to learn. It's when they are 4 to 8 years old. They don't know a lot about passwords or computers, or although I have to say they know more sometimes. I was with my grandkids over the weekend, and it was amazing. We were reading the books, and he was asking me questions. What are the, like I call the malware? We were talking about malware, and I'm teaching how malware can get into your computer, and in fact, it's like like an infestation, and he was like, okay, is that like an insect, or like, having that relationship with technology to something that happens. And of course, not all insects are bad. I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying for a child to relate malware and to see, oh, that's something that is infecting my computer, that it could be there, and if I don't click, I won't get that. And that awareness at that age, it's gonna stay. And the next time he gets a computer, a phone, or a tablet, I know that story is gonna be still there in the memory.
All right. So that was the first one I brought
Yeah.
up. I don't know what order you wrote them.
Yeah.
Three Little Pigs.
Yes, the
Three
three
Little
little
Pigs.
pigs. And the power of a strong password. And I have a story with this one,
Okay.
Tom. I gave the book to a dad and a 4-year-old, and they were reading the book. They were, the 4-year-old girl was coloring it, and she was so excited. And she runs to her grandpa and is like, Grandpa, is your password safe? Grandma, is your password strong? And she's asking about passwords. So I get this message from the dad. Wow, my daughter is again talking about password, talking about technology. She doesn't even know what it is, but I know it's there it's going to be there.
So great story. That you're planting the seed early.
Yes. So important.
And then this one.
Yeah, so that's the one. It's about ransomware, and ransomware can happen like what happened to you. Someone locks your computer, and now they are asking you to pay them to fix the problem they brought. And that's the story of the Pied Piper. If you remember the story, he brings the rats to the town and then asks for money to get rid of the rats. So it's exactly that analogy. And it's teaching about some of the concepts that are out there, and the children that love the stories can learn about it.
Yeah, you were just putting up some banners here that some of our audience are making some comments and that type of thing. So this, I love that concept, going to the young and
Yeah,
write a coloring book and make a learning
Yeah,
experience
absolutely.
and tie to it, and that story will stay with them. Just like when we
absolutely.
were a kid, when I went to school, the the storybooks and how today they still
Yeah,
resonate with me. So catching kids
absolutely.
early, getting them aware of an ever-changing evolution of technology.
Yes.
They're going to be ahead of the curve that Mark and I are.
And
And then that led. I don't know what order you did this, but talk a little bit about your book here.
I will. So I thank you so much for showing that. But before I go into just to close the children's book, just so I may say something. Yes, besides giving your kids a tool, every single day there are 500,000 active predators online.
Can you say that again, please? How many?
500,000.
Wow.
Five, half a million
Wow.
predators online, and they are
Jeez.
seeking for kids. So it's more not just about, hey, giving you, preparing your kids for how to embrace technology, how it can be better, you know, users of technology, but it's also how can they protect themselves? Because story every single day, whether it's someone that was a victim of sextortion, and that teenager took his life because he couldn't handle that much pressure, or it's a story of someone that was tricked by a predator, and that girl now was hurt by these guys, by these cyber monsters. I mean, I see those over and over, and that's why the books are there, because it's another tool that parents can have to protect their children.
Yeah, the losing of a bank account or technology, that's insignificant to the human element that is stolen, that can is damaged, and that will carry with them the rest of their life. And
Absolutely.
yeah, so I think that's more important than anything else, is
Yeah.
protecting the kids. So
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit more specific. Where elevate your profits. It's so important
Yes.
to protect your assets,
Yeah.
and that includes your family. Family first, right? Take care of your family. Take care of your personal stuff. Take care of your business. You have a business.
Yep.
So I'm going to bring up the
Yep.
this
Hmm.
here so people can see it,
Yes.
so they can actually see that.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is the book that teaches you about cybersecurity in a simple way. It's all about stories, and it doesn't only have my story, it also have the story of 6 other people that went through identity theft or cybercrime and what happened to them. And like you, Tom, I also have been, you know, I had a gun in my face. I was kidnapped. So I share some of those stories because I didn't realize how much my life had been had technology or had security or privacy ingrained into the things that I have done in my life or that have happened in my life. So that's what the book is all about. Is it's opening the curtains of, what can happen or what has happened to me and how can that relate to you so you can protect what matters most to you, whether that is in your business or in your family.
Yeah, and anybody that's out there, so there must be a process that you would work somebody through to get them oriented to on a personal basis. Let's talk about that personal piece first before we get into business, because the business has lots of things can go on. You got applications and you got
Mhm.
systems and you got all different ways people can get in and through you.
Yeah.
But on a personal basis, what the average person out there that gets online, does
Mhm.
their online banking, they're not using it for enterprise purposes. They want to communicate through LinkedIn and Facebook and all
Yeah.
the different social medias out there. What should they be doing to protect themselves? And if we could probably talk a long time just on that, but in a simplistic way, what would that look like?
Yeah, so great question. And I do have a cyber assessment and a little like a checklist that I actually included in the book to help that and to make that much easier for someone that wants to at least figure out where they are with technology and what are the things that they can check off the list. So I will say, you know, besides technology, yes, technology is very, very important. And you can have an antivirus, you can have a password manager, you can have a VPN. Like there are so many tools that you can have. But if I were to say what's the best advice, the best tip, the best recommendation I have to say 3 things, um, Tom and Mark. It's and I call it now the I didn't do this when I wrote the book. I know this now. And it's BIM. And it's be intentional, be aware, and be mindful when you are online. And I think whatever tools you have, once you really are intentional, aware, and mindful, those tools will become easy. And I'll give you an example. What be intentional means in a personal life. Be intentional in a personal life. And you know when you wake up, when you get up and you set an intention for the day. It's not different than when you set an intention for your technology. And sometimes our phone, for example, is more than just a phone. I mean, it allow us to connect to customers. It allow us to connect to family. It has all your pictures. I mean, it has so much data. So when you have an intention to keep that phone protected, you will do things to make that happen. And so I do that. I set an intention every day when I wake up and when I go to my phone before I use it. And whether it's updating it, changing a password, or doing simple things. I think the key, what I realized is when we feel overwhelmed, we are paralyzed with so much input that we just do nothing.
Yeah.
And what I want, that's why I'm giving you not a technical tool, but the most powerful tool that you can have, which is be intentional, be aware, and be mindful. Because you can start that right now, and it has nothing to do with how much technical acumen you have.
You know, this, I love what we're talking about here is, starting young, being, just be intentional, just be aware. I think that's the key.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the more aware we become, then we become more focused on the details.
Yeah.
It's only through awareness can we get to detail. If you get to details, it may be overwhelming, maybe just too much.
Too much.
While we were talking, and this is perfect. Somebody had an inappropriate site put up, and I blocked them. It was one of those sites exploiting sex.
Mm-hmm.
So no matter what we're doing, we are vulnerable.
Oh, yeah.
So as we were talking, somebody had got in one of these channels that I'm out to. I don't know which one, whether it was YouTube or whatever. Somebody was posting, go to this site for pictures, So as we're talking, I looked at it, I went, holy moly, I immediately blocked it, so don't want that out there. So it happens anytime, everywhere.
Yeah.
And so I apologize if everybody saw that out there in advance before I had a chance to block it. So, then we can talk, tonight we're on a real tight thing here, but in a business.
Mm-hmm. So what? Mm-hmm. Go ahead. No, go ahead. Go ahead.
The primary things a business should have in place to protect their business, and their business is their asset, and that can their website, their email, their processes for doing business, their banking, what are some of the basic things that a business person, whether it be a solopreneur or small business, we got 3 or 4 employees, what are the things that should be put into place? Mm-hmm. First of all, become aware of them. What would be some of the things that you would recommend as a starting point?
Yeah, I love that you just mentioned your website, because I, as an entrepreneur, a solopreneur, or even a business, a large business, I learned that your website is like your VP of marketing. It's a 24/7. And if your website is not protected, whether it's customers that visit your website get infected, so it's not going to be good for business, right? Or if your website doesn't have the minimum security tools, you get even penalized by the search engines. And sometimes business owners don't know this. So something simple as when you see a website, HTTPS, the S at the end means secure. So when a website doesn't have that S, it means everything that happens in that website is not encrypted, it's not protected. So when you go to a website, when you go to the browser, if you have a website and it says not secure, that means they don't have those minimum security features that can protect your customer information. So if you're a business owner and you have a website, the first thing that I recommend you do is check if you have the S on your HTTPS, or an encryption or a certificate. A certificate on your website that can encrypt and that protect that data. Because if you don't, also you won't be ranking the engines actually are gonna push you to the side because you're not a secure website. So you're not gonna come up on the search engines. So your business won't be visible anyway. So I wrote a blog post about this. So there's many different other things you can do for your website, but I think this one, Tom, is one that sometimes we don't realize that something super simple and security certificates, some of your website providers might even offer that for free, or it's like a $5 thing, super inexpensive, and it can really help your business.
Yeah. And as a business grows, they need more
Yeah,
and more, whatever that is.
absolutely.
When they're looking for somebody to help in their security, what should they be looking for? You do individual, you do company security, and work with individual. I'd encourage them to seek you out. So we got all your website information and your email scrolling across. But if somebody out there listening and they say, I got a website, I want to make sure that it's secure. What should they be look for from somebody like yourself? What are the credentials that validate that you can do it the right way and not make more problems? What
Yeah,
should they be looking for?
that is a great question. I have to say, when you're looking for a tech support, right? You know, you there be aware that when you type that in a Google search, a lot of companies that are fake are gonna pop. So what will be the best advice? It will be, find someone that knows someone that can recommend you that person. Because today there's so many scammers, and the moment you type technical support, all those companies are gonna be just, you know,
Yeah, deal with source
coming
that
up.
somebody's used somebody. That happened to
Abs-
me. I let
yeah,
one of my colleagues know that I got hacked, and she immediately says he's a professor at
yeah,
UWM, and he does cyber stuff, and all it says
yeah,
contact him first. And so I talked to him. Then he gave me some recommendations. So then I sought out a guy that's done some work on my computers. He met that profile, and I said, Pete, can you fix my computer?
yeah.
So it was one of just what you said. I just didn't get on and say, "Oh, I got it. I need somebody to clean my computer and I need
No.
security help." I got a recommendation from a high quality person. I asked some questioning, and he told me this is what you should be looking for. So, great
Yes.
advice. Great advice.
Nothing. Great that you did that. I'm so
Yeah,
happy
and we're
for
gonna
you.
start. My first recommendation is scrolling across the bottom here. So,
Yeah, and then you never know. And again, the idea of this education, or that this conversation, is not to scare you, but for you to be aware that all of the things that are happening, and the more you know, the more you can protect yourself and your family. I mean, what kind of data do you manage? Who has access in your company? Like, those are basic questions that you can start asking,
yeah.
and educating your people. It's going to be another one that it's really important. If one person in your company clicks the wrong link, it's going to affect the entire organization.
Yeah.
So education, education, education is going to be, it's going to pay all the way.
I'm going to share this, and then we're going to you got a free offer that here one because I know Mark's got to go give the little gremlin some candy. But when I did my stuff, and it was recommended by the bank to file a police report, blah blah blah. And so I went and filed a police report, and the officer says, this is not the first time we've heard this. We get about 6 to 8 of these a week, and we're in a small community here in the Brookfield area, Oconomowoc. I said, that many? He goes, yeah. They prey on the lack of awareness, and it's so legit. You go, okay, great, click here, and you have that hesitation. No, I shouldn't, but I do it because you get sucked in so smoothly, and that's what happened to me. And started that. I couldn't believe that even in a small community like Oconomowoc, Wisconsin, has 4, 5, 6 a week, every week.
Yeah.
Just that happened to me. Same type of thing. So I know you got a lot of value to bring. Mark and I would love to have you back on and maybe be more specific on some things, but we want to promote your book so they can get that information on the website. They can contact you with your email that's scrolling there. But I'm gonna put this up. Why don't you explain what's happening here on the free masterclass?
Yeah, so this Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, I'm going to do a master class that is going to be very specific, to cyberbullying, cybercrime, and identity theft. And how can you protect really, this is going to be more to families because there is so much that is happening every single day. And I'm my story happened for me so I can share what's going on out there and share it in a way that it can relate to you and give you actionable things that you can implement immediately. And whether you are a parent or someone that knows someone that is facing either one, cyberbullying, cybercrime, cyber stalking, or identity theft, come to that session because it can happen to anyone anytime. And even if you don't like technology, if you think that you're not a tech savvy or whatever that story, this is a session that it will give you a lot of information that can help you protect what you care about.
You got an awesome story. You making it appealing to seek you out, and not feel overwhelmed. I'm not even overwhelmed with the technology. I would call you in a heartbeat because I know you know the backside, but you want to relate to people can understand. Mark, I know you got to run. You want to close out with any questions or anything else? Mark, you're muted, I think. You're muted, Mark.
Sorry. Yeah,
There you go.
no worries. See, because I listen. That's why. I put up your link here too in my comments, and I was just looking at your. I love how you said, "Do you remember carrying many devices such as a Walkman, camcorder, calculator to make a phone call? You forgot pagers." For those of us that have been around for a while, but I think this is cool, and I may not be attentive, but I'll definitely have to check out this
Yeah.
class that you're offering. And the beauty of it is it's free.
Yep, it
So
is.
I always like to learn something new. I was going to ask you something since Tom was talking about getting hacked or whatever. What's the importance of uh, passwords and how often should you change them? And could you just share like
Mhm.
a tidbit of information
Yeah,
for
of course.
some of us novices out there that really don't fully grasp everything there is to know about technology? But
Hmm. Absolutely. So, password, if you think about, Mark, is what separates your bank account from a criminal. I mean, that's the password in the middle.
mhm,
And, I see that as the stream of characters that are the most important stream of characters because, the savings or my bank or my business depend on those characters. So that's the different view of a password, and how I recommend. And I really, I encourage everyone to watch the TED talk that I did, where I go really deeper into this. But one simple thing that you can do is create a phrase, a phrase that it's not in the dictionary. It's not a simple word. It's not um it's not something that can be easily guessable, because right now how cyber monsters do it is, they can run your password against any word in the dictionary or any of the common passwords, and if you have any of those, they can crack that within seconds.
wow.
So that will be the best. So have a phrase. And for me, because I believe in affirmations and I believe in the power of, you know, positive messages, I use a phrase that makes me happy. And
Gotcha.
that phrase, every time I type that phrase, just makes my day. So I choose to use a password manager, which is a tool that has all the other passwords. So I don't remember any of my passwords, but just one very long password phrase.
Yeah,
And
so you recommend like I have 8, 10 different programs that require passwords. And for simplicity, we replicate, duplicate, and make one little change. And that is, you get one hack, they can hack everything. They just
everything. Yeah.
They could run some, numbers through it, and they'll figure it out.
Exactly.
So you recommend a program that houses all your passwords. It takes a password to get into the password. Is that basically what happens?
Exactly.
And then you click on the application you want to open up, and it loads the password in. Do they change that automatically, or is that?
No, they don't change your passwords. So your passwords, you generate the passwords with the application. So you can generate, a 20-character password with a lot of letters and numbers and gibberish. But the other thing that it allows you is to see if you have a repeated password out there. If you have a password that, like, sometimes you see in the news something got compromised. A couple weeks ago, Uber got compromised. So if you have a password in Uber and that password now is known, or in Uber or any other of the many companies that get hacked on a regular basis, now that password is out there, and if you reuse that password as you said, Tom, now they have access to that password. So with the tool, it also tells you when hacks happen and where to change it. So it's more effective. It's an effective way to do password management and to really not feel overwhelmed trying to think what's the next. I remember, changing the last number of the password. Am I in the 20, 22, 23? I did that for a long time. And so, I have tried a lot of different things. And
Okay. Well, my friend, it's been an honor again to have you on. You get the book, get this for your kids and grandkids. You can go to the website. All the information's there. You've got some videos, you've got resources. And then we have the free class, the master class they can register with. So
this Thursday, November 3rd, 1 p.m.
1 p.m.
You got it. Well, we're going to put you in the back room. Don't go anywhere. And Mark and I are going to run it out. And Mark's going to put on his Halloween mask candy. So here we go.
We're in trouble if I have to do that.
All right. Well, Mark, I tell you what, security, it's relevant to me.
Oh, yeah.
Just happened. So, so anyway, we're all capable of being hacked by those monsters that are out there. But more importantly is there's the personal crime, the violation.
Sure.
What that does, data you can recover, so on and so forth, but what it does to your spirit and who you are, and especially with those that are trolling for kids and taking advantage of that is unacceptable in any moral view. So, but anything else you'd like to say, and we'll roll her on out.
Well, no, just want to thank you for bringing on our guest tonight. Sandra did a great job, and I will definitely remember, everybody, it's this Thursday, 1 p.m. I'll definitely have to check that out.
Yeah, I'll push it out myself, and I put it out in my newsletter that I got going out to my network. So, Sandra, we'll get you out there, my friend.
Absolutely.
So,
definitely.
Well, Mark, I know you got to go trick or treating, my friend.
Oh, I know it's not trick or treating. It's probably relieving my wife because I hear it dinging, the bells dinging, which you can't hear in the background. That's probably another reason I muted as well, so you don't have to hear all the craziness that's going on. But
we're going to
just want to say thanks. Thanks to everybody for joining us this evening, as always.
And I just want to close out with our sponsor, ASEA. It allows us to do what we're doing. And those that want to know more about cellular health and what it's doing in making an impact in people's lives, this is a very significant technology. We encourage people to look at it. So With that all said, we'll close her down, Mark. Okay.
Sounds great. Thank you, Tom.